Chapter 1 Introduction to Physiology. This chapter provides an overview of physiology as an integrative science. We'll discuss how physiology connects with anatomy, the importance of homeostasis, and key themes that guide the study of human function. Let's start by understanding what physiology really is. At its core, physiology is an integrative science, which means it brings together knowledge from multiple disciplines to explain how the human body works. Physiology is closely tied to anatomy, which focuses on the structure of the body. Why? Because structure and function are deeply connected. For example, the anatomy of your heart, its chambers, valves, and muscle fibers is perfectly designed for its function, pumping blood throughout your body. Similarly, the thin walls of your lungs are structured in a way that allows for efficient gas exchange. What is physiology? Physiology is the study of how living organisms and their parts function. It's all about understanding the how and why of life, like how your heart pumps blood or how your lungs exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide. Physiology doesn't just look at the big picture, it also focuses on the smallest details. It examines the chemical reactions and physical processes happening in the body, from molecular interactions to entire organ systems. Since form influences function, physiology is closely tied to anatomy. For example, the structure of your lungs allows them to efficiently take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Life is built in a hierarchy, starting with cells, which are the smallest units capable of performing all life processes. From there, cells group into tissues, which form organs. Organs work together as part of organ systems, and ultimately, organ systems make up the entire organism. It's like building a house. Atoms and molecules are the bricks. Cells are the walls. Tissues are the rooms. And organs are the interconnected systems that make the house livable. This hierarchy helps us understand how something as small as a cell can influence the function of an entire organism, and how studying each level contributes to our understanding of the whole. Let's break down how life is organized, from the tiniest building blocks to the entire biosphere, and how different scientific fields connect to each level. First, atoms and molecules. Everything starts with atoms, which combine to form molecules. Chemistry studies these fundamental components and their interactions, like how oxygen and hydrogen atoms form water. Second, cells. Molecules come together to build cells, the basic units of life. Molecular biology focuses on how molecules like DNA and proteins work within cells, while cell biology explores how cells function and interact. Third, tissues, organs, and organ systems. Cells group together to form tissues, which combine to create organs, like the heart or lungs. These organs work as part of organ systems, such as the circulatory or respiratory systems. Physiology studies how these systems function together to sustain life. 4. Organisms and populations. When we zoom out, we see the entire organism, a human, for example, and how populations of the same species interact. Physiology continues to study individual function, while ecology begins to explore interactions between populations. 5. Ecosystems and the biosphere. Finally, at the largest scale, we see ecosystems where different species interact with one another and their environment. The biosphere encompasses all ecosystems on Earth, where life is interconnected in a global system. This diagram reminds us how interconnected all levels of life are. It also highlights how each scientific discipline contributes to our understanding, from the molecular level to the global scale. Whether we're studying a single cell or an entire population, it's all part of the big picture of life. Let's take a tour of the human body's organ systems and how they work together to keep you alive and functioning. Circulatory system includes the heart, blood vessels, and blood. Its job is to transport materials like oxygen, nutrients, and waste products between all the cells in your body. Digestive system. Think of this system as the body's chef and cleaner. It converts food into particles that your cells can use and eliminates waste products. It includes organs like the stomach, liver, and intestines. Endocrine system. the body's communication system for coordination through hormones. Glands like the thyroid and adrenal glands release regulatory molecules to control processes like growth and metabolism. Immune system. This system is your defense force, protecting against foreign invaders like bacteria and viruses. Organs like the thymus and lymph nodes play critical roles here. Integumentary system includes your skin, which protects you from the external environment and helps regulate body temperature. Musculoskeletal system provides structure, support, and movement. This includes your bones and skeletal muscles. Nervous system, the control center of the body, involving the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. It uses electrical signals to coordinate actions and responses. Reproductive system ensures the continuation of the species with organs like the ovaries and testes. Respiratory system, responsible for the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between your body and the environment. Key organs include the lungs and airways. Urinary system maintains the balance of water and solutes in your body while removing waste. The kidneys and bladder are vital players here. Now, take a look at the diagram. Notice how these systems aren't working in isolation. They're deeply interconnected. For example, the circulatory system works with the respiratory system to deliver oxygen to cells, and the nervous system helps coordinate these processes. The integration of these systems is what makes life possible. Process maps and flowcharts are valuable tools to visualize relationships between systems and physiological processes. These diagrams clarify cause and effect relationships, enhancing our understanding of how the body operates. This diagram uses the concept of a sandwich to illustrate the relationship between structure and function. Just like in physiology, the components of a system, or in this case, a sandwich, determine how it functions. Two main components of a sandwich. First is the outside components. This is what holds everything together, like bread, tortillas, or wraps. Think of this as the structural framework, similar to how your skin or bones provide structure for your body. Second is the fillings. These are the functional parts that make the sandwich tasty and unique. Fillings include vegetables, cheeses, meats, and sauces, each contributing a specific flavor or texture. In your body, this is similar to how organs and tissues perform specialized functions within their structural framework. For example, your lungs, the filling, provide oxygen to the body, while your ribcage, the outside component, protects them. Why does this matter? This structure/function relationship applies to everything in physiology. For example, the structure of a red blood cell, a biconcave disc, allows it to efficiently carry oxygen. Similarly, the structure of a neuron, with its long axons, helps transmit signals over long distances. All right, let's walk through this process flowchart together. Imagine someone working outside in the blazing sun. The body faces a challenge to maintain homeostasis, specifically fluid balance. Here's the sequence of events. Step 1. Evaporation. The person loses water through evaporation, primarily via sweat. This is the body's natural cooling system in action. Step 2. Concentration changes. As water levels drop, body fluids become more concentrated. Think of this like making lemonade with too little water. It gets intensely concentrated. Step 3. Internal sensors kick in. Internal receptors, or osmoreceptors, detect these concentration changes. These receptors signal that something needs to be done to restore balance. Step 4. Thirst mechanism. The thirst pathways in the brain, particularly in the hypothalamus, get activated. This creates the sensation of thirst, a signal to replenish fluids. Step 5. Action. The individual seeks out water and drinks it. This behavioral response helps restore fluid levels. Final step. Restoration. The added water dilutes the concentrated body fluids, bringing everything back into balance. This is a prime example of how our body uses feedback mechanisms to maintain homeostasis. It's a built-in survival system that ensures we don't dehydrate. Physiology is a vast field, but there are four key themes that serve as its foundation. Let's walk through them and see how they connect to understanding the human body. Structure and function are closely related. The form of something is directly tied to its function. For example, red blood cells are shaped like discs, which maximizes their surface area for carrying oxygen. Similarly, the structure of your lungs allows for efficient gas exchange. Structure and function are like two sides of the same coin. Living organisms need energy. Life is an energy-intensive process. From pumping blood to contracting muscles and sending nerve signals, energy is required at every level. This is why your body relies on systems like digestion and metabolism to break down food into usable energy. Information flow coordinates body functions. Communication is critical for the body to function as a whole. Whether it's your nervous system sending electrical signals to move your hand away from a hot surface, or your endocrine system releasing hormones like insulin to regulate blood sugar, information flow ensures all parts of your body are on the same page. Homeostasis maintains internal stability. This might be the most important theme. Homeostasis is your body's ability to keep things stable like temperature, pH, and glucose levels, even when external conditions change. We'll dive deeper into this concept on the next slide, but think of it as your body's balance mode. Let's dive into the concept of homeostasis, one of the most critical aspects of physiology. What is homeostasis? Homeostasis refers to the maintenance of a stable internal environment, particularly in the extracellular fluid, CF. This stability is crucial for cells to function properly. The key here is stability within a range. Homeostasis doesn't mean maintaining a single, fixed value, but rather staying within a healthy range. Think about your body temperature. It hovers around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Celsius, but it can fluctuate slightly and still be considered normal. If the body cannot maintain homeostasis, it leads to a disease state or pathological condition. This is where pathophysiology comes into play, the study of how normal physiological processes are disrupted by disease. A prime example is diabetes mellitus, where the body fails to regulate blood glucose levels, leading to abnormally high glucose in the bloodstream. Why is this important? Homeostasis is fundamental to survival. It ensures that despite external changes like temperature fluctuations or dehydration, our internal environment remains stable enough for cells and organs to do their job. Building on the concept of homeostasis, let's visualize how the body maintains balance and what happens when it fails. This flowchart illustrates the sequence of events when there's an internal or external change. The organism in homeostasis is in balance. An external change, like extreme heat, or internal change, like a blood glucose spike, disrupts this balance. This disruption results in a loss of homeostasis. The body is out of its normal range. Once homeostasis is disrupted, the body initiates mechanisms to compensate for the change. For example, in a hot environment, sweating helps cool the body down. Here, there are two outcomes. Compensation succeeds. The body restores balance, and wellness is maintained. Compensation fails. The imbalance persists, leading to illness or disease. For instance, dehydration can lead to heat stroke if the body fails to regulate temperature. Uncontrolled blood sugar levels result in diabetes-related complications. Let's dive into the concept of the body's internal environment, which is critical for keeping all your cells happy and functioning properly. The internal environment is largely made up of extracellular fluid. This includes plasma is liquid component of your blood, which carries nutrients, hormones, and waste products. Interstitial fluid is fluid that surrounds your cells, acting like a cushion and medium for nutrient exchange. So, what does the ECF actually do? Think of it as a buffer zone between the outside world and the intracellular fluid, ICF, which is the fluid inside your cells. The ECF helps protect the delicate balance of the ICF by absorbing changes from external conditions, like temperature or nutrient availability. But here's the catch: the ECF needs to be kept relatively stable for your cells to work properly. Too much fluctuation in things like temperature, pH, or ion concentration can throw everything off. That's why your body constantly monitors and adjusts the ECF through processes like homeostasis. In short, the ECF is the mediator between the world outside your body and the microscopic world inside your cells, ensuring everything stays in balance. This figure explains the compartments of the body's internal and external environments. Panel A. The intracellular fluid, ICF, is contained within the cells. Surrounding the cells is the extracellular fluid, ECF, which acts as a buffer between the cells and the external environment. The cell membrane separates the intracellular and extracellular environments, maintaining different conditions in each compartment. Panel B. This box diagram simplifies the concept by representing the three compartments: the external environment, outside the body; the extracellular fluid, ECF, which surrounds and interacts with cells; the intracellular fluid, ICF, inside the cells. Together, these compartments highlight how the body maintains a controlled internal environment while interacting with the external world. This separation is critical for homeostasis, allowing cells to function optimally despite external changes. While homeostasis is crucial for maintaining balance in the body, it's important to understand that homeostasis does not mean equilibrium. The body operates in a dynamic, steady state. Materials are constantly moving between compartments, such as oxygen and carbon dioxide between blood and tissues. However, there is no net movement. The overall levels remain stable despite the constant exchange. It is important to note that there is a difference between equilibrium and steady state. Equilibrium implies that the composition of compartments, like intracellular and extracellular fluids, is identical. Dynamic steady state describes, instead of identical composition, the body maintains different concentrations in compartments but keeps them within a functional range. Homeostasis ensures that the body's compartments remain in this steady state. Disequilibrium is key to many physiological processes. For example, sodium is more concentrated outside cells, while potassium is more concentrated inside cells. This gradient is vital for nerve signaling. This figure illustrates the concept of steady-state disequilibrium, an essential aspect of homeostasis. Extracellular fluid. Sodium ions are highly concentrated in the ECF, represented by the orange bar. Chloride ions also have a significant presence in the ECF, shown in green. Potassium ions are in very low concentrations in the ECF. Intracellular fluid. Inside the cell, the concentration of potassium ions is extremely high, represented by the purple bar. Sodium and chloride ions are found in much lower concentrations in the ICF. This unequal distribution of ions between the ECF and ICF is vital for physiological functions, such as nerve impulse transmission and muscle contraction. Although materials move between these compartments, active transport mechanisms maintain this disequilibrium, ensuring stability and proper function. The body maintains balance through control systems because keeping things like temperature, blood pressure, and pH stable is a big deal. At the core of it, control systems are all about regulating variables within a normal range. Think of it as your body aiming for a sweet spot, or what we call the set point. For example, your body temperature is usually kept around 37 degrees Celsius. Now, there are two types of control systems: local control and reflex control. Both work by following a three-step process. Input signal is where it all begins. A change, or stimulus, happens like your skin feeling cold when the temperature drops outside. This information is picked up by sensors in your body and sent as an input signal to the next step. Integrating center is the decision maker. It evaluates the input signal and figures out the appropriate response. In many cases, this is your brain, but sometimes it's a local structure, like a specific tissue or organ. Output signal is made. The integrating center sends an output signal to the target, a muscle, gland, or another tissue to take action. For example, your muscles might start shivering to generate heat, or your blood vessels might constrict to retain warmth. Together, these steps ensure your body reacts quickly and efficiently to maintain homeostasis. Whether it's localized to a specific tissue or coordinated across the whole body, these systems are constantly at work, keeping you safe and functional no matter what's happening around you. Let's break down how a simple control system works. Think of it as a sequence of steps your body uses to respond to changes and maintain balance. Everything starts with an input signal. This is the information coming in, often triggered by a stimulus. For example, if your body temperature drops, the input signal could be the sensors in your skin detecting the cold. Once the input is detected, the signal is sent to an integrating center. This is like the decision maker. In most cases, it's your brain or another control center that evaluates the input and decides what action to take. After processing the input, the integrating center sends an output signal. This could be a nerve impulse or a hormone, depending on what system is involved. For example, your brain might send signals to your muscles to start shivering when you're cold. The output signal reaches the target, triggering a response. In our example, shivering generates heat, helping to raise your body temperature back to normal. This entire process happens seamlessly and often within seconds. It's like having a well-organized team working behind the scenes to keep your body functioning smoothly. What's amazing is that this basic framework applies to nearly all physiological control systems. Let's talk about how your body keeps everything running smoothly. Think of these control systems as the body's management teams, constantly working to maintain balance, also known as homeostasis. First, we have local control, which is like having a maintenance crew working directly at the site of the problem. For example, if oxygen levels drop in one specific area of tissue, the cells in that area immediately respond by making small adjustments like increasing blood flow to fix the issue. It's quick, efficient, and localized. Now, for the bigger issues, we have reflex control, which operates on a much larger scale. This is like calling in headquarters. The nervous or endocrine system steps in to coordinate a solution. Imagine your blood pressure drops suddenly. Sensors in your blood vessels detect the change and send a message to your brain. The brain, acting as the control center, evaluates the situation and sends signals back to your heart and blood vessels to restore balance. Both of these systems use feedback loops to keep things in check. Negative feedback loops are the body's main tool for maintaining stability. For instance, when your body temperature rises, you sweat to cool down. Once you're back to normal, the system shuts off. It's a self-correcting mechanism. Positive feedback loops, on the other hand, are designed to amplify a response. A classic example is childbirth contractions trigger the release of oxytocin, which leads to stronger contractions, continuing the cycle until the baby is delivered. Lastly, we have feed-forward control, which is all about anticipation. Picture this. You smell your favorite food, and your mouth starts watering. That's your body preparing itself for what's coming, even before it happens. So, to sum up, local control handles small, immediate issues. Reflex control deals with larger, body-wide adjustments. And feedback loops, whether they're negative, positive, or feed-forward, are the mechanisms that make it all possible. Let's take a closer look at how the body responds to changes in two different ways: local control and reflex control. First, on the left side of the diagram, we have local control. Think of this as your body's way of handling things right where the problem is happening. For example, if a specific area of your body isn't getting enough oxygen, the cells in that area take action. They send signals to dilate the nearby blood vessels, allowing more oxygen-rich blood to flow in. It's like the cells saying, "Hey, we need help here." This response is quick and limited to the affected area. Now, on the right side, we see reflex control. This is a broader, long-distance response that involves your brain or other control centers. Imagine your blood pressure drops suddenly. Sensors in your blood vessels detect this change and send an alert to your brain. The brain, acting like the body's command center, processes the information and sends instructions back to other parts of the body, like your heart or blood vessels, to restore balance. It's a coordinated effort across multiple systems to fix the problem. The main difference here is that local control is like a neighborhood fix, happens right where it's needed, while reflex control is like calling the city government for a bigger, systemic issue. Both are essential for keeping your body running smoothly. Let's break down how reflex pathways work, using this aquarium example as a guide. Imagine you're trying to keep the water in the tank at the perfect temperature for your fish. The same principles apply to how your body maintains balance. Here are the 7 steps for the reflex pathways. The stimulus. First, something happens that throws the system off balance. Here, the water temperature drops below the set point of 30 degrees Celsius. In your body, this could be a drop in blood sugar or oxygen levels. The sensor. Next, a thermometer senses the temperature decrease. In your body, sensors like receptors in your skin or blood vessels detect changes, such as cold or low oxygen. The input signal. The thermometer sends a signal through the wire to the control box. Similarly, in your body, this would be a signal sent via nerves or hormones to an integrating center off in your brain. The integrating center. The control box in this example is programmed to respond when the water temperature falls below a certain level. In your body, this is like the brain deciding what needs to be done to fix the issue. The output signal. Once the decision is made, the control box sends a signal through another wire to the heater. For your body, this might be nerves or hormones instructing organs or tissues to act. The target. The heater is the target in this system. It turns on to increase the water temperature. In your body, the target might be muscles shivering to generate heat or glands secreting hormones. The response. Finally, the water temperature increases, bringing the system back to the set point. In your body, the response could be raising blood sugar levels or returning body temperature to normal. This entire process is a classic example of a feedback loop, where the body constantly monitors and adjusts to stay balanced. It's a fascinating and efficient system that keeps everything running smoothly. Let's talk about 2 types of feedback loops that help regulate the body: negative and positive feedback. These are like 2 different strategies the body uses to respond to changes. Form negative feedback. Think of this as the stabilizer. When something changes in the body, negative feedback acts to bring it back to normal. For example, if your body temperature rises, your sweat glands kick in to cool you down. Once your temperature is back to normal, the system shuts off. Notice in the diagram that the response counteracts the initial stimulus, closing the loop and restoring balance. Now, positive feedback is the opposite. It's the amplifier. Instead of counteracting the change, it reinforces it, pushing the system even further. A great example is childbirth. When labor begins, the baby's head presses on the cervix, which stimulates the release of oxytocin. This causes stronger contractions, which push the baby further down. The cycle repeats until the baby is born, and only then does the loop stop. As you can see in the diagram, an outside factor is needed to shut off a positive feedback loop, like the delivery of the baby in this case. Let's dive into a real-life example of a positive feedback loop: childbirth. This is one of the most fascinating and beautifully orchestrated processes in the body. It all starts when the baby drops lower in the uterus, which puts pressure on the cervix. This stretch of the cervix acts as the stimulus that kicks off the loop. The stretch sends a signal to the brain, which triggers the release of oxytocin. Think of oxytocin as the hormone that tells the uterus, "Let's get to work." Oxytocin stimulates uterine contractions, which help push the baby further against the cervix. This creates even more stretching of the cervix, which sends more signals to the brain to release more oxytocin. This loop continues, with the contractions getting stronger and closer together. Finally, the baby is delivered, and this act stops the cycle. The delivery is the outside factor that breaks the loop, as there's no more pressure on the cervix to keep it going. So, in positive feedback loops like this one, the response amplifies the initial stimulus until an external event ends the cycle. Unlike negative feedback, which restores balance, positive feedback pushes the process to completion. Let's talk about biological rhythms, your body's natural patterns that help keep everything running smoothly. These rhythms are like an internal clock, making sure processes happen at the right time. For example, variables like blood pressure, body temperature, and hormone levels don't stay constant throughout the day. Instead, they follow biorhythms, predictable cycles that help your body adapt to its needs. One of the most well-known biorhythms is the circadian rhythm, which operates on a 24-hour cycle. Think of it as your body's daily schedule. For instance, body temperature tends to be lowest in the early morning and highest in the late afternoon. Hormones like cortisol peak right after you wake up, helping you feel alert and ready for the day. These rhythms are influenced by both internal factors, like your genetic clock, and external cues, like light and temperature. For example, exposure to sunlight helps regulate your circadian rhythm by signaling when it's time to wake up or wind down. So, in a nutshell, biological rhythms are your body's way of syncing its processes with the demands of the day, keeping you energized, focused, and balanced. Let's explore circadian rhythms in humans, our body's built-in 24-hour clock that helps regulate vital functions like temperature and hormone levels. Panel A. Body temperature. This graph shows how your body temperature fluctuates throughout the day. It's typically lowest in the early morning, just before you wake up, when your body is conserving energy. As the day progresses, your temperature peaks in the late afternoon or early evening, helping you stay active and alert. This pattern is tied to your metabolism, which ramps up during the day and slows down at night as you prepare to rest. Panel B. Cortisol levels. The second graph shows changes in plasma cortisol, a hormone that helps manage stress and maintain energy levels. Cortisol levels are lowest during sleep, but as morning approaches, they spike sharply, peaking around 9 o'clock. This surge is your body's way of preparing you for the day, helping you wake up feeling energized. Levels gradually decrease throughout the day, reaching their lowest point again at night to promote relaxation and sleep. Why does this matter? Circadian rhythms are controlled by internal clocks in your body, but are influenced by external factors like light. For example, exposure to sunlight in the morning reinforces this rhythm, while staying up late with bright screens can disrupt it. These patterns are essential for maintaining energy, focus, and overall health. Let's talk about how we study the human body and its functions. There's no one-size-fits-all method for research, so scientists use different types of studies to answer specific questions. Longitudinal studies. These are like playing the long game. Researchers follow the same group of people over an extended period, sometimes even decades. For example, they might track how lifestyle habits affect heart health over a lifetime. This type of study is great for observing changes and trends over time. Prospective studies. Here, researchers start in the present and look forward, identifying a group of people and tracking outcomes as they unfold. For instance, a study might follow people who quit smoking to see how it affects their lung function in the future. Cross-sectional studies. These are quick snapshots, looking at a group of people at one specific point in time. An example could be a survey comparing the prevalence of diabetes in different age groups. It's efficient, but doesn't show changes over time. Retrospective studies. These studies work backward, looking at past data or medical records to find patterns or trends. For example, researchers might analyze patient histories to identify risk factors for a disease that's already occurred. Meta-analysis. This is like a big picture approach. Researchers combine data from multiple studies to get a more comprehensive view. A meta-analysis could pool results from several studies on exercise and heart health to provide stronger conclusions. Each of these study types has strengths and weaknesses, but together, they give us a clearer understanding of human physiology and health. Choosing the right method depends on the research question we're trying to answer. Let's wrap things up with a quick review of what we've covered today. Physiology is an integrative science. We explored how physiology ties together concepts from multiple disciplines, such as anatomy, chemistry, and molecular biology, to understand how the body functions. Function and mechanism. We emphasize that physiology focuses on both the what, function, and the how, mechanism, of body processes. Themes in physiology. The four key themes, structure and function, energy needs, information flow, and homeostasis, help us understand the interconnected nature of body systems. Homeostasis. This is the body's way of maintaining a stable internal environment, even when external conditions change. It's the cornerstone of physiology and essential for survival. Control systems and homeostasis. We discussed local and reflex control systems, feedback loops, and how the body coordinates its responses to maintain balance. The science of physiology. Finally, we talked about how human studies, whether longitudinal, prospective, or retrospective, help us explore and expand our understanding of physiology. By tying all these concepts together, we get a comprehensive view of how the human body works to keep us alive and functioning every day.